Have you ever noticed that real life doesn't care what you believe? It doesn't ask whether your worldview is intact before everything gets turned upside down. Life doesn't wait for us to get it all figured out. It just arrives. There's a phone call in the middle of the night, a diagnosis, a betrayal, the death of someone you love, the birth of a child, an unexpected friendship, falling in love, even though you thought that chapter of your life was over. Real life isn't neat, is it? It's surprising. It's chaotic and disruptive. And it's beautiful. It's heartbreaking and wonderfully beyond our control. Now, I've spent a lot of my life trying to understand what real spirituality is. I spent years as a minister. I've studied theology, psychology, neuroscience, philosophy, and I've spent decades sitting with people in the most intimate moments of their lives. And somewhere along the line, I realized that I'd been asking the wrong question, frankly. The question isn't, what should I believe about reality? What should I believe about God? The deeper question is, what kind of spirituality helps me to live a real life in the real world? Because there is a kind of spirituality that exists mainly to protect us from reality. And there's another kind of spirituality that shows us how to participate in the unfolding of reality. And they're very different. Take religion, for example. It's given us many extraordinary gifts: compassion, community, beauty, music, ritual, language, for gratitude, a way of marking birth and death and everything in between. And I don't want to ever diminish any of those gifts, but religion can also be something else. It can be an attempt to explain away mystery, to tidy up the untidy, to answer every question, to reassure us that if we just believe the right things, that somehow it's all going to be manageable. But real life doesn't cooperate with that, does it? Every belief system eventually encounters something it just can't explain. The death of a child, a devastating illness, an act of unspeakable cruelty, or simply the realization that good people suffer while dishonest people seem to thrive and prosper. Theologians for centuries have wrestled with what's called the problem of evil. Theodicy is the big name for it. How a loving God and a world filled with suffering can both be true. And it's an important question. But I think there's another question that's even more important. How do we live well when life refuses to give us satisfying answers? Because it doesn't matter if we're religious or not, every one of us eventually discovers that we're not in control, no matter how we try. And believe me, our egos try. As a therapist, I've learned that humans are great meaning makers, and our brains are prediction machines. They're constantly trying to anticipate what's going to happen next based on what's happened in the past. It's not a flaw, it's how we survived. If you can predict danger, then you have a better chance of avoiding danger. But there's a shadow side to this. It begins to believe that if we can just predict enough, plan enough, control enough, then it can finally relax. Sound familiar? Sounds like people-pleasing, actually. Perfectionism, anxiety, overthinking, trying to anticipate everybody else's actions, trying to stay just one step ahead of the next big disappointment. And much of what I call the survivor self is organized around this central illusion: if I can control life, I won't have to suffer. The way I think about it, though, is that suffering is not a design flaw. It's a part of being alive. And the problem, therefore, isn't suffering. The problem is our refusal to undergo it. And notice that word, undergo. We usually want to get over things, fix them, solve them, move on. But we've been talking about experiences that can't be solved. They can only be lived through. Grief, love, forgiveness, wonder, aging, death, parenthood, love. You don't conquer these experiences. You don't master them. You allow them, at best, to shape you. And maybe this is where true spirituality begins. Not with certainty, but with surrender. And I know that surrender has got kind of a bad reputation. Many people hear that word and they think passivity, giving up, resignation. I don't mean that. I mean surrendering the fantasy that life should obey us. Surrendering the demand that reality conform to our expectations. Surrendering the illusion that certainty is possible. There is enormous freedom in being able to say, I don't know. This is agnosticism. Not because I'm not saying that ignorance is a virtue. That's not what I'm saying. It's because humility is. Nobody knows what's going on in this life. Not the priest, not the scientist, not the philosopher or the psychologist, not the therapist. We all have, of course, our own perspectives and experiences, our intuitions. But in the end, we're going to all stand before the same great mystery. And the mystery that I'm talking about is not a problem to be solved. It's the home of spirituality. And again, it's something to be undergone. It's something to shape us. And one of the most liberating discoveries that I've found in my own life is that reality actually comes first. Beliefs come second. They're a dime a dozen, actually. And they should always remain open to correction by experience. Men grew up thinking that strength means never crying. Well, I did that too for a while. Then life corrected me. I believed that if I loved well enough, I could save everyone. That if I performed well enough, everyone would love me and this void inside of me would be filled. Well, life corrected me. And, maybe your life has corrected you as well. If we're paying attention, life is always inviting us to a bigger understanding. Understanding, mind you, not certainty. You could call it wisdom. And there's a big difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge kind of asks the question, how does the world work? Wisdom asks, given that this is the real world, how shall I live? So wisdom isn't about accumulating more and more and more information, reading more and more books. It's a way of inhabiting your life, inhabiting reality. I make a distinction between the survivor self and the heart self. And the survivor self is organized around fear and the concern about being shamed. So it seeks approval. It seeks control. It wants predictability. It wants guarantees before it's willing to risk. Certainty before it speaks. It wants to know how the story ends when you're right in the middle of the story. But the heart self is different. The heart self is like, it responds to life as it is. It doesn't wait until fear disappears. It summons courage. It loves anyways. It creates anyways. One of the phrases I love is, hallelujah anyhow. It forgives anyways. It tells the truth anyways. Not because it thinks, the Pollyanna view, well, everything will work out in the end. But because this kind of authenticity is more important, way more important than certainty. And I guess this is what courage is. It doesn't mean you never are afraid, of course not. But it means refusing to let fear be the organizing principle of your life. So the older I become, the less interested I am in certainty. And I'm a lot more interested in wonder, gratitude, in feeling alive. And children get this naturally. I have a 4-year-old. She's just so alive. She's so in wonder. She's so happy. And just watch a toddler for a while. Everything is an adventure. Everything is play. Everything's worth touching, worth asking about. One moment, she's laughing uncontrollably, and the next minute she's in tears having taken a fall. And then they're comforted, they get back up, and then they're exploring again. They don't need an explanation. They're not trying to make meaning of their experience. Life itself is enough. They just intuitively know this. But when we trade in wonder for certainty, we lose that feeling of being alive. We stop exploring. We start defending. We don't ask questions. We protect our answers, our beliefs. But the spiritual life is about learning to wonder again, learning to be grateful in spite of it all, learning what it feels like to be alive. And this is like what I think about as freedom. It's not getting life to go our way. It's not being irresponsible. It's being the kind of person that is able to respond to life's circumstances with resilience. To get back up, to stand back up, to show up again, despite whatever we've undergone, and to do it with courage and to do it with kindness. And that word responsibility literally means to be able to respond, not collapse into cynicism and pessimism and sarcasm. Because, life just happens. We don't choose things that happen to us. But we can participate in what we become because of what happens. Life asks us not, can you control this? It says, who will you be in response to this? And that question has made a big difference in my life. So people often ask me, do I believe in God? And I do, but not in the way you might think. I don't believe in a cosmic puppeteer pulling strings from somewhere outside the universe, who intervenes episodically now, but not now for some reason we can never figure out. The God that I experience is just closer than that, more intimate, less controlling. It's like a creative intelligence that is asking me to participate in the unfolding of my life with greater kindness, with greater compassion, alluring me towards greater beauty, truth, never coercive, always inviting, freedom, always inviting. We have to choose. And this is what I mean by participating in the unfolding of our life, because life isn't something that's happening to us, it's happening through us. We're participating in it. We're creative participants in it, moment by moment, choice by choice, relationship by relationship. So, coming full circle, what is spirituality for real life? I think it begins with letting reality be what it is. It's letting joy arrive without trying to possess it. As William Blake says, to kiss the joy as it flies is to live in eternity's sunrise. It's letting grief arrive without trying to escape it. In other words, undergoing it. It's allowing anger a voice without allowing it to be your identity. It's like accepting that uncertainty isn't an interruption of life, it's life itself. It's discovering actually that your heart is more resilient than you could ever imagine. That every heartbreak has the possibility of enlarging your capacity to love and enlarging your compassion for the world. So, spirituality is not to defend us against reality. It's not to escape reality. It's allowing us to become fully alive within it. Stop resisting. Stop demanding certainty, rather. Stop postponing our lives until everything finally makes sense. Because honestly, it never will. And besides, life isn't a problem to solve. It's a mystery. It's a mystery to be undergone, to participate in. And I say that's enough. And that's where freedom, true freedom, begins. So if this way of understanding spirituality touches something in you, I'd like to invite you to continue the conversation. I have this community on a school platform. It's called Just Be You. And we're exploring what it means to live beyond survival, beyond people-pleasing, beyond self-abandonment in all its forms, and to begin living from what I call the heart self, the deepest, freest, most authentic part of who you are. Because the truth is, we only get one life, and it might as well be our own, right? Might as well be yours. So thank you for spending time with me. If you enjoyed this, also just I'd appreciate if you click the subscribe button.